you once again for tuning in to the message of love. Today I'm going to start out by telling you a story, something that happened to me a couple of days ago. And I learned quite a lesson in it, and I'm even going to tell a little bit on myself in this story. But I have a friend who is an elderly gentleman, and sometimes, because he doesn't get around very well, I'll drive him to certain events or things that he'd like to go to. And he wanted to go to this event the other night, so I very gladly took him. While we were there, it was a fundraiser, and they were selling all kinds of, tickets that you could buy, and then when they had the drawing, you would win something. I think they're called raffle tickets. So he bought these 3 little red raffle tickets. And when he did, I felt an anointing on those tickets when he put them in my hand. So when it came time for the drawing, sure enough, one of those 3 tickets, it was his number. Well, because he can't walk, when they called his ticket, he said, "Go get it for me." It turned out to be $1,730 some that he won. And I went and I picked up that money, but an interesting thing happened. When they did the drawing, the person who did the calling, with the microphone, he said, "Let's have some child come up and pick this number. And then they can get a nice tip from whoever wins it." So a little girl came up, and now's when I'm going to get to the part where I'm going to tell on myself. So she came up and she drew the number, and when I went up there, I said to the little girl, "Why don't you come with me?" And I introduced her to my friend who actually had won the money. And he said, "Well, just give her $20. And I thought, boy, that's pretty chintzy. Out of $1,730, you're only going to give her $20. So I took it upon myself to just reach into the little packet, and I pulled out a $50 bill, and I gave her the $50 bill. She grabbed it, never even said thank you, and ran off. So that was that. Then later on, here comes the guy that sold the tickets, and he said, "I think you should buy me a drink for selling you those tickets." So we bought him a drink for selling those tickets. Then the next thing I knew, I got up and I was walking around to go look at the silent auction, and I happened to pass the bar where a bunch of people were sitting, and everybody at the bar was like, "Oh, there goes the winner. I think she should buy us around because you won all the money." Well, of course I did not do that. I'm not buying anybody around to be drinking alcohol. So I went back and I sat down in my seat, and I thought, how interesting. Here is my friend. He took his $10 and he bought these 3 tickets. So all of the winnings belonged to him when they drew his name or drew his number. It was all his money. But yet the man who was calling it out thought he should share that money with the young girl that drew the ticket. The guy that sold the ticket, he thought he should have a piece of the pie because he sold the ticket. The people at the bar, they thought they should have a share of the money just because they're there, and they've earned it because the guy should buy the bar around, which is sometimes traditionally what happens. But the truth of the matter is, none of them were entitled to any of my friend's money. And every one of them, in their own way, was trying to take what they were not entitled to. They were entitled to none of that money. It wasn't their money that was spent for it to come back, and so it belonged to my friend, yet everybody wanted a piece of the pie. And so it occurred to me, it's like that in life. We all seem to want a piece of somebody else's pie, and that's not right. That is completely out of line with the way that God does things. God does things out of love. God does things out of charity. God does things because of the kindness that's living on the inside of him. Love desires to give. Love wants to give. But love does not take away what belongs to somebody else. That, my friends, is called being a thief and a robber. Because you go in and you take what you have no right to take. It does not belong to you. So I watched all of that going on, and I tell you, I learned my lesson too, because I made the same mistake that everybody else was making. What had any of us done to have anything to say or to do with that man's money? So I want to read to you out of this very famous 1 Corinthians chapter 13, the love chapter. Though I speak with the tongues of men and angels, and I have not charity, I have become a sounding brass and a tinkling cymbal, if I have not love. Although I have the gift of prophecy, I can understand all mysteries, and I know all knowledge. Though I have enough faith to move mountains, but I do not have love, I am nothing. Though I bestow all of my goods to feed the poor, though I give my body to be martyred, and I have not love, it profits me nothing. So all of that hodgepodge of people trying to take from my friend, there was not 1 ounce of love in that. Nobody came up to my friend and said, give me a piece of your pie because you love me. You know, wherever we're making a demand on people, wherever we're telling them, you are obligated to do this, wherever we make laws telling people who are, you know, that they have to do this or they have to do that, or we try to regulate them, we have stepped out of the way of love, and now it's done on demand, and it's actually being a thief and a robber. When we go to somebody and we say we're entitled, I deserve a part of your income, I deserve a part of your land, I deserve something that you worked for, give me, give me, give me. We are totally self-centered, selfish, and acting outside of the love of God. Nobody was entitled to any of my friends' money. No one had any right to it, yet they were all making a demand on it. Can you see that, my friends? Are you understanding what I am saying to you? We are not entitled to anybody else's money. We're not entitled to their property. We are not entitled to their lives. We're not entitled to anything that belongs to somebody else. It's called being a thief and a robber. And wherever we are forced into giving because it's demanded of us, it's no longer because of love, and we have stepped outside of the love of God. It's no longer love in motion, love in action. It's not charitable. It's because it's being demanded and taken. It's not the way of God. So I learned my lesson. I think I saw something really profound. And we live in an entitlement society where people think things are owed to them just because they're alive. You might get away with that with God. You might say, you know, I'm your child, God, I'm entitled. And in a sense you are when you're a child of God. You know, you are entitled to sonship. But God doesn't owe you anything, and He doesn't owe me anything. Everything in this world was created by God, for God, including you and me. So let's come to the Lord with charitable hearts. Let's do things because of love, not because of demand, not because of greed, not because we're trying to take something that does not rightfully belong to us. Let's step into the love of God and live our lives according to His way, the message of love. So there you have it. I hope that got across to everybody because it sure made an impression on me. So get out there and give because you love, not because it's demanded or somebody else thinks they have a right to what God put in your hand. Love you. Bye for now.